All right, let's jump right in. We're going to deconstruct this really short but incredibly powerful ancient poem. It's basically a map of one of the most human experiences there is, right? That gut-wrenching journey from feeling absolute despair to finding a radical sense of hope. We're talking about the emotional roller coaster that is Psalm 13.
So this poem, it doesn't ease you in at all. Nope. It just starts with a total punch to the gut. This isn't just some casual question. It is a cry of pure, raw anguish. The writer feels completely, totally abandoned. And that one word, forever, man, it just hangs in the air. It perfectly captures how endless that feeling of despair can be.
So let's look at these first two verses, because they're just a masterclass in how to express despair. The author isn't just asking one thing. Instead, they fire off this series of 4 rapid-fire questions, and each one builds on the last, It creates this intense feeling like you're trapped in a downward spiral with no way out.
And it all kicks off with what is probably the ultimate fear, just oblivion, right? The idea of being forgotten. To the writer, being forgotten by God means you just don't matter anymore. And that little addition, that forever, that's not just for dramatic flair. It shows us that the psalmist genuinely believes this awful state could be permanent.
And then the feeling just builds from there. It actually gets worse. It moves from this passive idea of being forgotten to a very active one, of being ignored. I mean, looking the other way, that implies a conscious choice, doesn't it? It's like the psalmist feels that God sees the suffering, but is deliberately choosing to do nothing about it.
Okay, so here's where the focus pivots. It turns inward. After looking out at God, the poet starts describing their own internal reality. And it's brutal. A soul in a constant struggle, a heart that's filled with sorrow, every day. This isn't just a passing bad mood, we're talking about a chronic, daily torment. And finally, the pain goes external again. So on top of all that inner anguish and the feeling of being completely abandoned by God, there's also an enemy, a real-world threat, and they're winning. So you see what's happening. The psalmist is being crushed from the inside out and the outside in. There's no escape.
So when you put it all together, that repetition of how long 4 times, it's not just complaining. It paints this complete 360-degree picture of despair. It's not just one thing that's wrong, it's everything, all at once. The author feels forgotten by God, tortured from the inside and threatened from the outside. It's literally a state of total siege. But then something shifts. Right when it feels like the bottom, the writer moves from just brooding over the despair to actually taking action. The whole tone changes. It goes from this sad, lamenting question to an urgent, desperate cry for help.
And you can see the change right in the words. All that passivity, it's gone. Instead of just asking, when will this end, the psalmist issues a direct command. Turn and answer me. I mean, wow, this is a demand for attention. It's an active, powerful attempt to break through that deafening silence.
And let me tell you, the stakes could not be any higher. The poetry here is just stunning. Restore the sparkle to my eyes. What a vivid way to ask for your life back, for that vitality to return. And the alternative is laid out with just brutal clarity. Or I will die. This is not a metaphor. This is a raw plea for survival.
What's also fascinating is that the plea isn't just about personal survival. It's also about public vindication. The writer is deeply worried about the shame of defeat, about their enemies gloating over their downfall. So there's this whole reputational thing at stake here, too.
Okay, so get ready for this, because this is one of the most dramatic emotional turns you'll find anywhere in ancient literature. We've gone from the absolute depths of despair to a desperate plea for help, and now this entire poem is about to pivot on a single word.
This one word right here, but. This is the hinge for the entire poem, and what's so crucial to understand is that nothing, absolutely nothing in the writer's external circumstances has changed. The enemy is still there, the sorrow hasn't gone away, God still hasn't answered, but this one word signals a monumental shift in their internal posture.
And there it is. Right after that but, we get this incredible declaration of faith. Now, notice, it's not, I feel better now, or hey, you saved me. It's simply, I trust. This is a conscious, deliberate choice. It's a decision made smack in the middle of the storm, not after the clouds have already parted.
So it's really important we understand what this unfailing love actually means in this context. It's not some warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the object of a decision.
The psalmist is actively choosing to place their trust in the one thing they believe is constant and steadfast, even when everything else around them feels like total chaos.
And what's so fascinating is the clear, almost logical progression that happens right after this decision. It's like dominoes falling. The choice to trust, that leads to a future promise of an emotion, I will rejoice. And that in turn leads to a future promise of an action, I will sing. The internal decision literally carves out a path for outward expression.
And here's the final piece. The poem doesn't actually end with the rescue. It ends with the reason for the trust and for the song. It's this simple, confident statement of belief. The psalmist is choosing to sing based on a conviction about God's character, that He is good to me, not because the rescue has already happened. The conviction comes first.
So this ancient poem really leaves us with a powerful question for our own lives, doesn't it? We usually think of hope as a feeling, right? Something you have to wait for, something that just shows up when your circumstances finally get better. But Psalm 13 suggests something way more radical. That maybe, just maybe, hope isn't a feeling at all. Maybe it's a choice. A choice you make long before the sun comes out.